I'm Lauri,
No, I'm
and
Carmi.
this is an episode.
Welcome
You're
back to
what?
Momsters. I said, welcome back to Momsters. Oh
I
my god, you still
cannot
can't hear.
hear. I just can't hear.
Put headphones on.
I'm old. Hello.
I'm Carmi.
I'm Lauri.
Welcome to Momsters.
Monster. So what?
All right, so
How
here we
how many more weeks until you give birth?
2, hopefully. Although they freaked me out at the OB-GYNs because I asked them what happens if I don't go on my due date. And they were like, oh, you know what? It's good that you brought that up because we should schedule for 41 weeks now, or you'll get stuck waiting until 42 weeks because there is a shortage on IV fluids, so they won't let you get induced prior to 40 weeks unless there's like a medical urgency. So, I don't know how we
I
don't
know
have
that kind
IV
of.
fluids in this country.
Yeah.
And apparently there was a shortage on iron too, which is
So what's going on in the
crazy.
world that we don't know
But
about? That there's a.
war. But yeah, I'm not excited at the thought of waiting till 41 weeks. So hopefully it just she comes out before then.
I don't think you'll have to wait
Anytime now.
that long.
That would be great. Still throwing up every day.
Woohoo!
Yay. For hyperemesis. Yay.
It's.
It only took me 9 months to learn how to say that.
I had sympathy vomit for you last week. I think it was. I vomited. I don't remember. It was bad. Maria had to leave the room. Yeah,
Gross.
it was horrible. I can't even imagine doing it every day. I mean, at least I was blessed with that. When I was
Yes,
pregnant, I didn't vomit every day. I was nauseous. You know, don't put me in room with like chicken or turkey. I remember sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner at Graham's when I was pregnant with Maria and being like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Just the smell.
Hmm. Yeah, I couldn't eat poultry when I was pregnant with Lincoln, but this pregnancy, she's good with poultry.
With Robbie, I ate steak the whole
Well,
time.
I mean, as much as she's good with anything, because I throw everything. I ate a lot of red meat with Lincoln too. I wonder if that's like an iron thing.
You know what? I wonder if that's why I feel so horrible now. It's because I haven't been eating red meat. And I know with our, like, all right, everybody says you shouldn't eat red meat. It's not healthy for you. I get that. But when you have our genetic disorder, I, it's not a bad thing to have a steak every now and then.
I think that, as long as you're using red meat in moderation, that you can eat it and it has unique
Well,
nutrients
right.
and
And if it's a
vitamins
better
that it
cut
brings
of
into
meat, I think they would say a better cut of meat.
Mhm. If you're not eating ground beef every single day, then you're probably getting benefits from the amount of red meat that you're bringing into your diet. Although there's like a whole if you really get into the weeds on any of these nutrition issues, they become very complex. But apparently, if your beef is grass fed and
Hmm.
grass finished, that's a thing. It's got to be 100% of the way. Then that's healthier because it has more. Let me try to be a nutritionist here. Omega 3s, which are good for you, I guess. Um, so you are getting a lot more nutrition out of beef that's grass finished, grass fed, than just your standard beef. So just like everything in nutrition, you have to do a lot of homework to figure out what's actually good
I
for
had a
you.
friend who came to my house yesterday and I was helping her with starting her business. So she does nutrition and physical training. And she's just like a genius at it. And you just said, like, oh, you have to do a lot of research. And I was telling her, I'm like, I rather pay you Like, I'd rather pay somebody who's like passionate about it and just, really wants what's best for you and works with your body type, and like she hits, checks all the boxes on that. And I'd rather pay you to do the research on it and go, here you go. This is what you should be eating than.
Well, it takes so much time and effort to research
Mhm.
every single level
Yeah.
of nutrition from artificial additives and colors to what sort of soil is this growing in and is it safe for consumption, and then you've got to compare all the US products with the UK products because the UK has real regulations and we don't. And it gets really heavy. Like I don't think moms really can keep up with all of it. It's not sustainable to be able to go through like every single item in your pantry and eliminate everything that's processed or has
Yeah.
chemicals in it. I mean, there's
Well,
chemicals in
what do you do then
everything
when
at
your
this
kids go
point.
to
So
a
you just
party or when they go to someone else's house and, when you say don't eat anything,
they're never gonna not eat everything. For me, it's about moderation. We do, a little bit of red dye. I wouldn't say we do a lot of it at all. Um, but I'm, there's never gonna come a point where I tell Lincoln like you can't have a Kit Kat. So
yeah, we know,
I'm
we've
not
been
gonna
there.
be that kind of a mom. I'm not that far into the nutrition mom space, but I like to be cognizant at least of it. Um, Especially like in spaces that you don't even think of it. Like there's a lot of these pop rice
Yeah.
ball things or crunchy stuff that they give to babies, um, and basically anything that's puffed up like that that's made from rice will have naturally a higher
Huh.
arsenic level than probably anyone's comfortable with. Zero would be ideal for baby food, but I mean, there's a non-negligible amount of arsenic in everything that's got rice in it, especially if it's rice from Texas. Somehow Pakistani rice is much healthier for you
All right,
than
I'll have to
Texan
remember that.
rice. Um, but like who even? I don't think anybody would ever even make that connection. That like, okay, let me not shove all these puff things down my kid's throat because it's a whole lot of arsenic in their diet.
What?
And you have to do that with everything. You have to do that with meat. You have to do that with snacks. You have to do that with vegetables, which are constantly getting recalled now, and that's
Yeah, I
also
just hung up with
super
your
like
grandmother and she was telling me not
carrots
to
in the
eat
fridge that we're
carrots.
gonna throw out.
Apparently carrots are on
You
the.
can't eat carrots now. I still don't know what we're supposed to do about lunch meat.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't hear about that either. I don't remember. I just don't remember. That means you have to either like watch the news or read it and, you know,
It's constant
yeah.
homework to be a nutrition mom.
Hmm.
It's a lot of work. So I do, as much as I can and try to be realistic about the fact that there's going to be stuff that he's consuming that's not great for him, but it's I mean, we're talking in scientific terms like parts per million, parts per billion of arsenic. So it's highly diluted, but I think you hear lead, arsenic, like, and you naturally react to that and think, how is that possible that that's in my baby food?
And then they drop something on the floor in the grocery store and pick it up and put it in their mouth immediately. And then what are you supposed to do? Right? The binky, the
Yeah, they're gonna
pacifier
get.
goes flying. The first child, you're like running with the antiseptic trying to get the whole thing clean. The second child, it's just like a wipe off and back in the mouth. So there's always going to be something.
Oh, I know. I was just telling Patrick, I don't know if we're gonna disinfect our bottles this go around because it seems
With
unnecessary.
Robbie, I was really careful. I I did because he was my first. So, you do everything the right way. I didn't heat anything up in the microwave. I didn't, nothing went in the dishwasher. Everything had to be boiled or whatever. And not with Maria.
The Coco, get down! Oh my gosh, the dog is in so much trouble right now. Patrick,
What is she
can you
doing?
come get Coco? She's eating my lo mein. It's not okay.
She
It's
likes
funny.
Chinese food. That's great.
Lincoln likes
Does he
Chinese food, which
really?
is great. Yes. It's impossible to get him to eat anything, which is another challenge in trying to be a nutritious mom because I just need him to eat food and put weight on. And if he's
You
willing
just
to
give him
eat
anything. Yeah.
10 donut holes, 10 donut holes are more food
Or
than not
Starburst for
eating anything.
breakfast.
So, or like his new thing, we got him fruit
Yeah.
cups from Costco. They're really good. He likes peaches. He was into them for a couple days. Now he just drinks the juice and throws away the fruit part. Like, it tastes the same. Just eat the whole thing. So yeah, sometimes it's just like chicken nuggets because that's what he'll eat.
I completely lost my train of thought, which is, you know, common for a
Common for
mom at
us.
any time of your life, whether you're a new mom, a pregnant mom, an old mom like myself. We were talking about food and nutrition, and now I can't even remember what I had on my mind. As my mother would say, it must not be important. Is that you? What in the world do you have in your hands? It's this spinny, flashy
It's from my
thing
mom.
that looks like um, it's a people
Oh,
can't
people
see,
can't
they're
see.
listening. So describe what you have in your hands. You have a child's toy, and as it spins, it makes different colors, and it's almost like a kaleidoscope, but you
Like
could see it. Yeah,
one of those Disney light up wands that costs a ridiculous amount of money.
food and nutrition, vitamins. I don't ever remember giving my
But
kids
food and
vitamins.
nutrition are.
Maybe I did.
I don't. We never had water either growing up. Every kid
Oh,
now
we
has a
never
water
had water
bottle.
growing up.
We. I mean, if I
No,
had half a glass of water a
no.
day, that would be
I
a
don't
good
remember
week.
us drinking soda though
This.
either. Like we didn't drink soda.
Oh, we drank so much soda in my house. We would go through a 2 liter of Coke a night. I don't know how we ended up as healthy as we were. I think it was because we would just like only eat really bad food once a day.
I drank a lot of iced tea then. I drink a lot of iced tea now.
Iced tea has even more
No, I
sugar
drink
than soda,
unsweetened.
so I don't know. I can't drink unsweetened iced tea.
Well, technically, you could if you brew it yourself. That's a lot of work.
Okay.
Anything worthwhile is a lot of work. I don't know. I'm in a mood. I am just in. I don't know why. I do know why because I was working on softball stuff again. It's like a job. I signed up for it. I can't complain because I signed up for it.
Oh, I do that all the time. I volunteer for things because I'm qualified to do the things, but then I don't want to do
Yes.
them. And then you think you're special for like a second. They make you feel really good, like, oh,
Yeah, because
we
no other
need you for
parent wants to
this.
do it.
Um, yeah, the truth is
Yeah,
there's no
nobody
one
else
else
wants to do it.
volunteering.
They're like, oh, we
Nobody's
love you. You have to do it. It's because
yeah,
nobody else wants to spend their whole life doing it.
no, you're not special. You're just gullible. Not you, but anyone that gets roped into these things.
And when I think of how many times I threatened to quit, I'm not doing this again. Now here I am, year three.
But like, what are you supposed to do? Because no one else will do it.
I don't know. Maybe it was something about grandma that I wanted to talk about with us growing up eating. Oh, we never had a variety of food. Like when you said about Lincoln, like, oh, he loves lo mein, right? I didn't have Chinese food until I was in college. Like we never ate anything that wasn't either like an Italian food or very like a meat, a potato, and a vegetable for dinner. Like that was it.
Okay, well, is that because of your socioeconomic situation that you weren't eating out a lot at all, or because of the geographic area where everybody was super European and so there was no exposure to other types of foods because everybody that lived in the area was like straight off the boat from
Yes
Sicily?
and yes. I would say that. I mean, we would because they had what like church bazaars. So over the summer, the churches would have these picnics as fundraisers, and um, they would make food there that we would not have at home, like potato pancakes and stuff like that, which was like phenomenally delicious. But no, my our thing was like my father didn't like it, so we just didn't eat it. That ruled the house. But we were grateful Grandma didn't
I
make us
can't
eat
see how
liver, so that was a good thing.
did
Yes, I
she eat
remember her
liver?
making it.
Liver is apparently very healthy, for the record,
No,
but not for me.
mm-mm. No, and Angie used to eat liver too.
So, what is that, like a depression
I don't know.
holdover thing? I don't think
Now
it's
I would eat
good.
tripe, right? So I would. Yeah, I loved tripe.
Yeah, I can't do veal at all. Veal freaks me out. And I used to like venison, but I can't eat venison anymore because we have a family of deer in our backyard, and I feel like they're my pets. So last time I tried it, I was feeling
No,
guilty about it.
we used to hang out at this one bar, and the owner's father would make venison, and he wouldn't sell it. Like he would make it almost like in a spaghetti sauce with peppers, and oh my god, it was so delicious, so delicious. And he would cook it at the bar because of, well, it doesn't matter, to close now. So but he would cook it at the bar because they had the big industrial appliances or whatever, and we tasted it. Oh my gosh, it was so so good. But yeah, I've never had a venison steak. We have some friends who that's all they eat.
You never experience meat that fresh though in the
No.
modern age because the meat that you buy when you go to the store isn't anywhere near that fresh.
Well, we
So
used to have a
it's
butcher.
it's an interesting callback to an older time when people were less removed from the food that they're eating, and it is kind of common in Pennsylvania that there's hunters. Like my dad used to hunt deer, and he would bring the deer home, and then we would
Yeah.
eat the deer. So it's interesting. I think it gives you more of an appreciation for the food that you're eating when you're not 10 or 20 steps removed from the animal.
Uh, my neighbor's Lynn.
But obviously, that's not a
So
sustainable way to
Lynn's husband
live.
Jeff, he went fishing one day, and then whatever they caught when they were fishing, they brought home, and we had for dinner. That I was a little freaked out about.
Oh, we
But
used to eat
yeah,
that at the lake. Probably shouldn't have been eating the
well,
fish
I don't
from
know
the
where it
lake.
was
I don't know.
from,
They
but
couldn't have been that bad.
he knows. I would trust him. He's had a phenomenal garden too. He's just one of those people.
Fresh fish.
Like if there's
I mean, I think we need more of that in the American diet. Is fresh meat, fresh poultry. It's just like first of all, who has time to search out a local butcher or like a local farm that will sell you pieces of a cow that's from like 2 hours away and had a good life. That's a lot of
maybe
work
it's
and it's a lot of
because of where
money.
you live though. Okay, so you're in Jersey, which is definitely more urban than where I'm from, and where I live in Pennsylvania, I could name three off the top of my head of places where I could go that, yeah. Hmm. Yes. And I think it's interesting though
I
that
probably
I,
should
I
do that.
don't go there more. Like I probably should. But it's all convenience too.
Yeah, thinking that needs to be a greater emphasis. But you just like going to the grocery store, picking out the 20 things that you get every week becomes a habit, and it takes a long time to break you out of doing that and for every single food group, every single meal that you have, trying to find a better, healthier solution, it's not necessarily reasonable. I mean, like, there's parents that just drive through McDonald's at the end of the day because they can't
Yeah,
even
well,
get to
wait
the
until you
grocery
have
store,
kids
and I
in
think that's
sports.
a fair thing to do, right? That's so even getting to the grocery store, even
Hmm.
making a meal at all is that's a step in the right direction. I don't know, it's tough as a mom in America because I think a lot of these health issues that you have to be aware of on your own and do homework and, constantly educate yourself. You don't even have to think about them in Europe because the government is thinking about it for you. Just like you said, like you want to
Right.
hire someone that can tell you which foods you're supposed to eat. Well, yeah, that's what regulations are for. That's why we have an FDA so that they can, test these industrial productions of food and make sure that, everything is up to snuff. Because you don't have time to do it. You don't. So that's my pitch for regulating the food space.
So what I did with my children, I'm trying to think how I did this. We have organic soap. So like in our, when you take a shower, like that's organic. They didn't know. It just you don't tell them. I didn't tell them, you know. Um Organic laundry detergent. Um because I think if you just don't make a big deal out of it, you know, rather than fabric softener, I use either dryer balls or um, put essential oils on them and put them in the dryer. Just things you could substitute. Instead of air freshener, use the diffuser with essential oils in them too. But again, you have to research all of that. So that's why you go to somebody who knows what they're doing. I'm not going to, I don't know. It's just tough being a mom sometimes. I even get my hair colored by an organic
Yeah, it
salon.
sounds.
How about that? Yeah.
I do that. Yeah. I don't know if that makes a huge difference, but I do that.
Actually, I would go
I
anywhere.
don't do everything.
The person who does my hair, I would go like anywhere she went. So if she decided she was going to move and go to a salon that wasn't organic, I'd be like, sure, because she's a goddess, and that's I would follow her anywhere. So yeah,
It's also, everything in context. So there's, a little bit of hazardous chemicals in pretty much everything that you're going to
right.
touch throughout your day, whether it's water, soil, vegetables, pots and pans,
Hmm.
plastic, anything that you touch, even if it's organic and, passes all the highest tests, there is some threshold of
Right.
bad chemicals still in that. And so you instead of getting overwhelmed by that, you kind of have to pick and choose where you're going to fight your battles because you can't physically remove these chemicals from every facet of your life. So you sh- I mean, I think that that's what you have to do as a mom is you choose these areas, laundry or, you know, pots and pans, and you try to limit your exposure in those areas, knowing that, overall you're going to get a little bit of exposure in the end to
Well,
everything.
I have always been more aware of toxic people than I have been of the other toxins in my life. Like I have always been super aware with my children of not having them interact with people who were toxic rather than like other things, because what happens, there's mentally, spiritually, and physically, and all of those things make a huge difference in who you are and how you become and what being your
Well,
authentic
yeah,
self.
stress.
So I
Oh,
had no problem or have no problem uh separating my children from people who were toxic.
yeah, I mean, I think stress is a big part of nutrition that people take for
Hmm.
granted and leave out of their nutrition plans. And I mean, you could be eating super healthy, but if
Mind
you're
isn't.
so stressed, you're still
Yep.
gonna get sick. So you have to find a balance and some way to keep those toxins out of your mind. And also, it's in addition to stress toxins and food toxins, you have to worry about environmental toxins because like I mean, you could take out every artificial preservative, every artificial ingredient in everything that touches your mouth, if that's even possible. But if you're going to work in the city
Right.
4 days a week, you're getting exposure to toxic pollutants at a much higher rate than an American that isn't even paying attention to whether or not they're putting red dye in their body. So it's you really have to assess your whole life and everything that you're exposed to, and that's overwhelming and a lot of work for moms. But I mean, that's our job. We're like defense for our kids. How can I limit your exposure to toxic people? How can I make sure that you're getting the best possible nutrition and the best possible clean air and water within the context of the society that we live in, where there isn't always clean air and clean water?
When my Aunt Angie had cancer, right? So when Aunt Angie used to come to our house and she used to visit, she used to have like these test strips for water, and she used to use it like in every. I don't know why she would like test everybody's water or test the water she would drink before she drink it, and she tested our water and like for whatever it was filtered through our refrigerator. She's like, "This is the best water ever." So you know,
I mean, usually filtering water at the source where you get it will eliminate a lot of the bad stuff. Um, we drink tap water. I don't. As long as you're filtering it, I don't
I
see any problem with it. For me, there's no difference in the amount of toxins in bottled water versus municipal water systems. Although I will warn you that they're basically all contaminated with PFAS, but that's a whole different issue that we've introduced a chemical
Well, do
into
you
our
find
water
as an
system
environmental
that
attorney and now as a mom that you're even more aware of the toxicities? Like that, yeah.
yes, yes, but it also becomes overwhelming to the point that it's like mind numbing. It's just like noise. So, I see these moms that spend a lot of time on nutrition, and at the end of the day, I'm like, I mean, fine, but you're still getting poisoned from your water. You're still getting poisoned from your soil. There's no way you can control all of it. And at the end of the day, you're getting exposure to these chemicals in a really, really small
Hmm.
concentration. So it may have a really small effect. We usually don't know. There's not usually a whole lot of science backing this up. What we see is like, animal studies and secondary evidence for the most part. But yeah, I mean, being aware of it just makes me more frustrated that we're not
Well,
doing
I'm
anything.
like that with people. I'm like that with energy. I rather my kids, like that was one thing I was always like super careful with them was the energetic part, which I guess is like the mental part, the spiritual part, um, of
Mm-hmm.
who they were comfortable with, who they weren't comfortable with, who you knew would like, spiritual vampire would suck the life out of them. And kids are super intuitive.
But that has a real
Oh yeah.
physical effect. I mean, like that will have a real effect in terms of inflammation, in terms of like your gastrointestinals and ability to um, digest food, and like just keeping your systems working in general. It's incredibly important to keep the emotional door open with your kids because that's, at least in my eyes, a
Hmm.
huge part of
My
nutrition.
daughter's friends now, they'll ask me to cleanse, like give them a spiritual cleansing, like just to, wipe off all the bad stuff. All the bad energy. So, and I do that with kids too.
Yeah, and like even if that's just
Oh yeah.
meditative in nature and you take it at face value, like that's still healthy. Teaching a kid to spend 30 seconds clearing out their mind. That's awesome. Most adults don't have that level of
Well, and a
emotional
lot of the things
regulation.
that we pick up emotionally, mentally, most of them aren't even ours. It's what's coming off of another person. It's their mood. It's their reaction to something. It's how they're responding to something. And then we have to either counteract that or um, and how that affects us. And a lot of times I say, all right, I'll ask myself, like, is it mine? Like, is this energy mine? And if it's not mine, if I feel toxic, then I know I could either, send it back to source or have Mother Earth. That sounds like really frou-frou, but have like Mother Earth take care of it. You know what I mean? Like, just like clear yourself of it, just ground yourself from it.
I think that's also true of like generational habits that sometimes you just find yourself saying something that your mom said or your grandmother said and you have to like catch yourself and really pay attention and pull yourself back a little bit and be like, okay, I'm going to be more emotionally restrained in this moment.
Yeah. Sometimes I sound like my mother.
Sometimes I sound like my mother.
Not all the time, though. I would say that. Not all the time.
No, I think overall we've sort of carved our own
Yes, we
paths.
did. Yeah. Very proud of that. Breaking away from what you were taught. Because I look, as a parent, you could either be your parents or you could learn, because like this doesn't come with a guide being a mom. It doesn't come with an instruction book. Look on page 344 and see what you're supposed to do in this situation. That does not happen. So using your intuition, you're either going to use your intuition and move forward in the process of either teaching your child or handling a situation, or you're going to do it out of habit or how you were taught. And that's not always the correct way. That's not always the right way. So by breaking that generational cycle of whatever it is, uh, I think it'd be very healing for your family, for yourself and your family.
Yeah, I think you're the first line of defense in protecting your kids against generational toxicity, if you will. Um, and yeah, there is that, like, it's sort of like a default mechanism that we just fall into whatever pattern maybe we were raised in if we're not paying enough attention to it. And I think the solution there is like you really have to tune in and take cues
Hmm.
from your kid. And you need to trust your kid enough and respect your kid enough, and sort of, get off of your own high horse a little bit and say, all right, my kid's not reacting, they're not responding positively to the way that I'm parenting right now. I need to change course. Because it's not that you have a bad kid. You don't have a bad 3-year-old. There are no bad 3-year-olds. You just need to adjust. And and they may still be annoying and not do what you want, but at the end of the day, I think that you need to be more cognizant of their reaction to your parenting than, how your parents
Hmm.
would feel about it.
Yeah, I think I let a lot more slide than my parents did.
Oh, of course we do.
Yeah, I let a lot more slide.
But I think we're just focused on, we have different priorities.
Oh, our
Like
worlds are so
our
different though too. Like, and my again, like, because your mother and I were the same. Like we are the same generation. We had the same parents. Where you're living. Your mother is the equal to me, so you're dealing with everything that she handed you, and I think also like generational has a lot to do with it too. Like it was so different when I was growing up. Your parents didn't have to, like, my children, if they wanted to do something, if they wanted to be in softball or Boy Scouts or go for guitar lessons or play soccer or whatever, I couldn't just tell them, all right, take your bike and ride up the street and go to wherever. Like in our community, that just doesn't happen. You have to get in your car and drive your child there. And there's like, what about play dates? Like, we never had play dates. You just went to the neighbor's house and
Well,
knocked
and
on the
also just look
door.
at like where were you going as a family to get, morals and values and talk through emotions? That was happening like in church where people were lecturing you. Whereas I think, our generation and maybe starting with your generation, we had parents that were engaging more directly, communicating with their kids, talking through emotions, talking through morals and values in a more constructive way that would teach them better than having someone standing at a lectern or an altar every weekend. So I think it gives hopefully the next generation more space to express themselves because it's not just a one-way conversation. This is what you should do, this is what's right. It's let's all talk about what it means to be moral in this
I do have to
situation.
tell you, from a Generation X perspective, as a mom, I probably have learned more from my children, being,
100%.
I don't want to use the word tolerant. Like, they've just educated me more on social issues. And, because my generation, we just threw money at things. Like, that is how we, and that's just how we are. Oh, rather than go out into a march, like, here, I'll just give you money for it. Like, you go march. Um, we're not going to do that. That we're the kind of people who are just like, suck it up and move on. And I think I've learned so much from them and from their peers, and uh, things that they showed
Yeah,
me,
I think
on like TikTok and YouTube and all of that.
there's so much more acceptance and just appreciation
Oh
for
yeah,
diversity in the next generation. I don't know if it was a defense mechanism because, you know, 2 generations ago, our family was fighting back against these cultural stereotypes. And so maybe it's that we, not our generation, but the generations before us were trying to protect themselves by showing how assimilated they were and, we're different
hmm
than these other new people. But I like the shift. I love that, and maybe it's because we all moved out of our hometowns. A lot of us did, and we got exposure. I mean, I know that living in Queens is the most culturally diverse county in the world. That changed my life because you don't realize everyone's there's a lot of fear mongering. And so when you grow up in that type of fear mongering, you're scared
right.
of people that are different. And then you get dropped
hmm
into a community that's got so many different cultures, and you realize really quickly
Yeah.
they're just like me. They're just like me. There's no difference. They're working, they're trying to get by, they're, you know, doing their best, don't have all the answers, but
And
generally
those
good
moms are the
people.
same as
And
us. Yeah,
yeah,
they want the same thing for their
absolutely.
children.
And so I don't know if maybe there is more exposure geographically in modern day, and that's adding to people's appreciation of diversity. But I totally recognize that the younger generations are just more sensitive and more respectful of other people's differences, even if they don't like even if you're not 100% on board or believe in it. Like if somebody tells you their pronouns, if you're Gen Z, you're not going to be like, F that, I'm not going to use your pronoun, I'm going to use whatever. Like, you're just not going to be a dick about it. That's how it is. Like there's no reason to be a jerk to people. And for whatever reason, like Gen X can't wrap their head around that, and Gen Z is like, all right, well, if that's what you want me to call you, then that's what I'll call you, even if I don't get it.
Well, yeah, I feel like I fit into, but I'm different. I'm just, you can't go by me. But I try my best to understand that and to respect a person for that. Um, and really, that comes down to my children too. But I think, it does, and I have to put the whole spiritual part in it. I look at souls rather than the human, the
Yeah.
person. I see what's on the inside. I
And
see
how
what's through
hard
the
is it to
eyes.
be how hard is it to be sensitive to saying something that hurts someone? Like you don't have to agree with why
Right.
they're feeling hurt. You just have to feel, a little bit of guilt and say, "All right, well, I'm not going to make you feel like that anymore." Even if I can't connect the dots to how your mind gets there. Like I'm just not going to be a jerk to you. I don't think it's that hard. I think there was a toxic masculine culture for Gen X and previous generations that you got to puff your chest out and you got to make fun of all the people that are different and you got to like ostracize certain groups, and I don't see that as much with Gen Z, so I'm really encouraged by that.
We I have to ask my children. I think, I mean, we really, really made an effort to never describe a person, um, when it came to my children, like their classmates, um,
Yeah.
like by skin color or race, or, we did it by, as broadly as you can. Um, and I truly believe it's the reason why they grew up without any kind of, I don't know. They're just not biased to anyone.
We need to be bringing people together, and especially kids do that
Yes.
naturally. So take their cues, not your
Mhm.
parents' cues, and let them lead the way on being culturally accepting and um, being open to different perspectives because they're probably going to have better insight on that. Sometimes we have to overcome our own demons, even if we're not ready yet, because our kids need us.
Amen to that.
All right. Well, thank you for coming to this very first virtual episode of Momsters,
I love it.
and
I love my space. I love where
oh,
I am. I love that I have a desk.
this is comfy. This works. Robbie seems
I
to have
know.
pulled it
He's
all together.
fabulous, our producer. All right. Carm, you take care of yourself.
All
Okay.
right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.